Hello, everyone. Waiting for some people to join. I've got Instagram going on one phone. I've got TikTok going on one phone. And I better I turned my camera on. So YouTube, I get to see my whole room here. Hello, everyone. Anybody who's joining, waiting for more people to join on TikTok and Instagram. Got some people on YouTube. I had a super interesting session today, a higher self hypnosis session. And it wasn't that it was like the session that I had today, it wasn't like, like some off planet life or, something that you'd be like, oh, that's so cool or something like that. But it was so I do higher self hypnosis where I talk to people's higher selves under hypnosis. And today my session was a woman, and she knows I let her know that I was going to be talking about it on a live today. So anybody who's wondering if this is ethical for me to do this, it's perfectly ethical for me to do this because I'm not going to tell you anything that could even remotely identify her. So we'll just call her Mrs. Smith. So nothing I say will identify her. And she has a lot of things that I know a lot of people will be able to relate to that happened in her session. And she got a ton of healing and wisdom and guidance from her higher self. And I was just so excited. I kept her under extra long in hypnosis. And then finally I had to ask her higher self, I'm like, I have a lot more questions to go. Is she okay to continue on a while longer? And her higher self said, actually, she's getting really tired. So we should probably end it now. So of course I have to respect her higher self, which is her. Your higher self is you. So it's you without the ego. It's you without all the drama and the trauma and the belief systems and everything like that. It's you. So let me explain quickly what a higher self is. And thank you all for being here. This is awesome. I love teaching about this stuff. I'm going to try to keep it to an hour and a half. Let's say an hour and a half tonight. But if you miss any part of it, you can go back on my YouTube channel under the name Woke Lightworker, and you can watch the live on my YouTube channel if you miss any of this. You click on the live tab and it'll generate and upload and all that, and then it'll be available under my live videos. So if you imagine, like humans talk a lot in terms of org charts. So if you imagine there's like an org chart and you have creator, the creator of all that is, of course, at the very, very top of this imaginary org chart. At some point down on the org chart, you have your oversoul. And your oversoul is like your daddy soul. So if I use this pen as a prop, let's say this pen is your oversoul. It's got a number of fractals of itself or other souls, like mini souls coming off of it, a fractal of the oversoul. And one of those fractals is you. One of those fractals is the life that you're experiencing now. Now let's forget all about parallel lives and all that kind of stuff. We're not going to get into anything more complicated than that. I'm just super, super simplifying it. But your oversoul, creator of all that is, wants to experience something in particular through every aspect of itself. And an aspect of creator of all that is your oversoul. So of course, you are an aspect, I am an aspect, we're all an aspect of the creator of all that is. And the creator has plans for every aspect of itself of what it wants to experience, whether it be in the spirit realm or in the physical realm, on planet Earth, on some other planet. There's all kinds of things that it wants to experience. And creator, we are all creator. We're all an aspect of creator. We all sparked off from creator. But again, we have our oversoul. Our oversoul knows the mission of each soul that fractals or fragments off of itself. So each soul underneath the oversoul has its own mission. So the voice of your oversoul that guides you, that guides me, that guides all of us is your higher self. So your higher self basically gets its marching orders, so to speak, from your oversoul, who has kind of divvied out all of the experiences that Creator wants to have and says, okay, fractal Angie. So fractal Angie, you are going to go and learn A, B, C, D, E across multiple lifetimes. Thank you for the rose, Elizabeth, on TikTok. You're going to go learn all these different lessons. Here's your soul path. Here's your soul, like the plan, the path of your soul. And you can take as long as you want to learn all these things and experience all these things, or go as quickly as you want. If you go too quickly, though, I will just warn you. Creator kind of puts a stop to it and says, yeah, let's add a few more things in there and let's mix it up and add a few surprises in there to see what happens, because she's kind of flying through all this stuff, or he's kind of flying through all this stuff. Maybe it's too easy. It's kind of like making someone go from regular language arts in school and putting them in an advanced language arts class because it's just kind of too easy for them. So that does happen. I've seen that in sessions where Creator kind of mixes it up a little bit because we're going a little too fast. We're not enjoying the ride, enjoying the journey, so to speak. We're just kind of plowing through the journey and plowing through the lives. So anyways, your oversoul basically has your higher self, which is an aspect of the oversoul, almost be like the mediator between you, your consciousness here in this body, and your oversoul. So your higher self knows the mission that you're here to do, and it knows the best way for you to do it and how to get there. I basically say it's like having a GPS in the sky. And if you listen to your higher self, you can get your lessons learned much quicker, and you can enjoy them a lot more because you'll be learning them from a much higher perspective. Thank you, Goddess Energy, for the rose on TikTok. You can learn them from such a higher perspective of peace and understanding. Thank you again for the rose, Goddess Energy. So why would you want to follow your higher self or merge with or become your higher self? Well, if you're someone who is complaining that life is too hard, that things are too difficult, that you've got all this trauma and you don't know where to go in your life, and it would probably be a good idea. I mean, you don't have to. You can choose anything you want because you have free will. This individual fractal down here has free will to take whatever path that it wants to. But it might be a good idea to learn how to become, live as, connect to your higher self, that GPS in the sky, let's just say, that doesn't have the traumas, doesn't have the dramas, sees and knows your mission, knows you intimately because it is you. It's an aspect of you. It just doesn't have the ego or the persona. So when I say persona or ego, what I'm talking about is your mannerisms, your personality, everything that you've picked up in this lifetime that makes you Angie or whatever your name is. So it makes you who you are. And these are things that you've learned and that you've gotten through your DNA from ancestors. You've picked up things in other lives and you've carried it over to this life because maybe it's something that's unresolved. You pick up things in this life, teachers, friends, the media, family, especially family. And so all of those things shape your persona or your personality. And so your higher self is you without all of that, without all of those layers and layers and layers and layers of just stuff and beliefs. And so it sees the clear path. Thank you, Goddess Energy, on the finger heart. Thank you. So it can lead you in the most direct path if you learn how to listen to it. But again, if you don't, you might take the bumpy road and you might take the scenic route if you don't know how to connect to and live as your higher self. And I don't know about you, but I got really tired and sad and depressed and actually wanted to check out when I was taking the bumpy route, and it wasn't very fun. And so once I learned that there was a higher self, that I could live as my higher self, it was a game changer, like a complete game changer. And I actually, on my website, wokelightworker.com, I have a course out there that was a 4-week course, and I recorded it, that teaches you how to connect to and live as your higher self. So if you want some guidance on that, I'm going to be writing a book on it also, but I'm not there yet. I'm actually writing a couple of other books right now. The one I'm really focused on, hard and heavy right now, is how to have a pain-free labor and delivery, because I did it. And I did it on purpose. And I'm going to lay out what I did and how you can do it, and add some healing for yourself and your child while it's in the womb. So to have an amazing, miraculous birth. So look for that, guys. I'm hoping to be done with that in less than a month. And then I'm going to self-publish it on Amazon. So if you guys are not on my mailing list and you're interested in something like that and getting notified when that book comes out, How to Have a Pain-Free Labor and Delivery, I'm going to title it, Who Says Childbirth Has to Be Painful? And just make sure you're on my mailing list. So if you're not on my mailing list, go to tracy@wokelightworker.com, or just go to wokelightworker.com and get on my mailing list. And I also, on my website, if you go to my website, I have a free meditation on my website. If you go to wokelightworker.com, right as soon as you log in, it asks if you want a free meditation on connecting to your higher self. So if you want that, you'll automatically be on my mailing list. So make sure you go visit that if you're interested in learning when my book comes out, Who Says Childbirth Has to Be Painful. It's amazing, guys. So anyway, that was the bunny trail. So, okay, so I want to talk to you guys. Now that I told you what your higher self is, I want to share with you this hypnosis session that I had today. And like I said at the very beginning, in case you missed it, and if you miss anything, again, go to my YouTube channel when this is all done and you can see the replay of my live. Thank you, Goddess Energy, again for the rose, because you can catch anything that you miss, or if you have to jump off early. So, okay, now this session that I had today with the client, the only thing I'm giving away about her is that she's female. I'm not giving away anything else. She knows I'm talking about her session tonight. We're good. Everyone signs a waiver to do a session with me. I don't give away anybody's identity. So I'm not breaking any ethical. I'm not doing anything unethical. So I'm just sharing because this is stuff that can actually help everyone in their journey. I was sitting in there drinking it in, being under the wisdom of her higher self today. It was truly incredible. So I want to share it with you guys. And I'm going to be looking this way, reading off of my screen. So luckily for me, I used to be a court reporter for 15 years. And as a result of that, I type really, really, really fast. So when my clients are under hypnosis, I get almost every single word that they say. Hi, Taylor. I get almost every single word that they say. Talk about clones. She wants to talk about clones. I haven't, let me answer that question first, because she said, I'm going to keep spamming this question because I really want to know. Guys, I actually haven't asked directly anybody's higher self about clones, but I will be happy to do that and answer that in a future live. So I'm going to make a note of that right now, to ask about clones in a future session, because I have some people that I do regular sessions with, higher self hypnosis sessions with, and we ask kind of some questions that interest me in those sessions. So I will ask about that. Thank you for asking. Linda on YouTube says, I love how you respect confidentiality. Of course, Linda, and I know you do too, my dear. Isn't it super funny how the mundane jobs we have end up benefiting us spiritually? Yeah. Oh, Linda reminded me. Oh my gosh, I think you're right, Linda. In her session, long time ago, I think we maybe did talk about clones. I'm going to go back. Linda, if you see which session that was or where it was, because her and I have done a number of sessions together, and we talk about some wild stuff in some of those sessions, and I think we maybe did talk about clones, and I just don't remember because it was a while ago. So anyway, I'll get back to you on that because I don't want to give any false information about clones. So okay, I'm going to get back to this session that I had today, guys. It was full of so much wisdom, and there's something in here. Hold on, because there is something in this session that everyone can use that will change your life. Like, I'm not joking. It will change your life. So hold on. I'm going to talk about the past life that she had first, and then I'm going to talk about the life in between lives that she had. And the reason this is not being posted the actual video on my YouTube channel. Guys, I have like 11 or 12 sessions on my YouTube channel. You can actually watch them, listen to them if their face is covered for privacy. But she asked me not to post the video. She didn't want anyone to hear her voice. She didn't want anyone to see her face. So absolutely, I absolutely respect that. So that's why I'm sharing it this way with you guys, because there's so much good stuff. I just want to share it. So after I put the person in a really nice meditative state, on YouTube, I have sessions on my YouTube channel, Woke Lightworker. And guys, I also have a lot of sessions on my Patreon channel. Like I have so many good sessions on my Patreon. So if you go to patreon.com, there's my son back there. If you go to patreon.com and you do /Woke Lightworker, that is my Patreon channel. And it's like $22 a month to support me. And you can watch so many higher self-hypnosis sessions and past life sessions. And I only put the coolest ones out there. So I have a lot of sessions I could put out there and more keep coming. So anyway, let me talk about her past life. So when I brought her into this meditative state, she said, I'm back in a meadow and there's lots of different colored flowers. I'm barefoot. I'm an adult, a younger female, maybe early teens. I'm wearing a white cotton short sleeve dress. The weather's warm and sunny. And off in the distance, there's a castle. And I hear some running water, a gentle creek. There's some rabbits and horses. I feel like I'm connecting to nature. I want to be in nature a lot. It feels like I live two lives, she said. Okay, so again, this is reading from the notes from this higher self-hypnosis session that I did today. She said, it feels like I'm living two lives. In the castle, it's not peaceful. And I go out to the meadow to get peace. It's between peace and not peace. It's my escape. She said she feels like her grandmother from this lifetime is very present with her in that lifetime as a spirit guide. So I asked her then to take me, can you have dreams of a past life? Absolutely. You can have dreams of a past life. Yes. I don't have any moderators in here, guys. So I'm sorry if I miss a lot of your questions because I really want to share the wisdom from this session. So I don't know how to have a moderator either. So I'm sorry, guys. So if you're asking me questions, if you guys truly have a question you really want answered, you can always feel free to email me at tracy@wokelightworker.com. But I'm going to try to keep glancing at my screen and answer what I can, okay? So maybe spam me if it's something you really want an answer to. I've got some trolls, huh? Oh, wow. Troll away, babies. Okay. That doesn't bother me, guys. So, okay, home. Home is her, she said her home in this past life was in a castle. She said it's made of stone and it's gray and brown and has a pointy roof. She said she sees horses, carriages, buggies, people with armor on. They might be guards. A lot of people work there. It looks very big, but it doesn't feel very welcoming. There's lots of activity going on inside. We have chickens. And it feels like I have some sort of mental illness or something going on mentally. But I'm able to feel free when I go to the meadow. But when I go to the castle, it closes in on me mentally. So let me see. Anyone else said anything? Nope, I think we're good. Okay. Then I said, take me inside the castle at mealtime. So like when there's a big family meal or something going on, I want to see who all is here. So she said, I see my dad, I feel his presence, and he's very powerful and very mean. My mom is there and she's scared and timid. I have a brother, a younger brother, and we're expected to be dressed nicely for dinner. And it feels very uptight and it's not a friendly environment. There's servants bringing out food. Dad is boisterous and loud and demanding, and it feels unfriendly, but we have to be there. I'm scared of my father. I see him yelling a lot, and I think he's physically abusive with my mom. I'm not picking up that he's ever physically hurt me, but he could or would if I misstep or behave. My younger brother also fears my father, and he looks scared. She said, I feel scared for my mom and curious about her. She doesn't talk much. I feel very alone. She gets educated by nature, by animals in the meadow, and then there's tutors that come to the castle. She said she feels like it's a very positive experience because she likes learning, but there's something going on with her again mentally. She's got something mental going on. She said, I don't know if I'm a slow learner or there's some sort of blockage with me. Maybe somebody said something that I'm slow, or maybe I am slow. I feel like there's some mental blockage for me and I don't know what it is. I feel trapped inside the castle. When I go to the meadow, I get freedom and I feel connected with the animals, with nature, myself, and I don't have people putting judgments and expectations on me or yelling at me. I have peace in the meadow. So again, in this past life, that's why she said, and if you miss any of this, guys, you can go back and watch it on my live tab on my YouTube channel, Woke Lightworker. But in this past life, she said, it's like she lives two lives. She has this, really tense and uptight and stressful situation at home where she feels like she has something mental illness or something going on. And then when she's allowed to be by herself and be free out in the meadow and be with nature, it's amazing. And she just feels so free and she just loves it. So let me see if anybody else said anything. Nope. Okay, we're good. Okay, so then I said, go forward in time and take me to an important or a memorable event. Tell me what that's like. So then she says, I have my own family now and a husband and a daughter. And my father is very disappointed with me because I should have married somebody with wealth and I did not do that. I'm living in poverty and my husband turns out to be the kind of similar to my father in that he's a tyrant, a bully. And my daughter is really sweet with blonde hair. She's cute. She's a chubby baby. My husband is a drinker and it feels unpredictable. There's no electricity wherever we were in that lifetime. So we have candles and lamps. I work around the house. It's physical labor, washing, cooking, tending to the baby. And I never know if he's going to come home and be drunk or how he will act when he is drunk. It's very unpredictable with him. It feels like a very sad life. I feel trapped and I realize that I did not have a mental illness. Thank you again for the rose goddess energy. I realized I did not have a mental illness. I'm actually pretty smart, but I was told that as a kid, something with my mental state as a kid, and that goes away when I get older. I don't have that anymore. So this is an example from a spiritual standpoint of talking about other people creating upon you. So that's why I'm saying we can take on with our persona or our personality all kinds of traumas and beliefs and everything else. That's not our higher self. That's stuff that we have been told or taught or maybe take on as a belief of our own. And we accept it as our own, and that becomes part of our personality. So here she thought she went through life having a mental illness, and she realized later that she didn't. So other people were creating upon her. And so to be in our sovereignty, it's realizing that we are the only ones that should be creating anything in our lives, not listening, blocking everyone else and not letting them create upon our lives. She said, I remember saying something about this in our phone consultation. Why do people have multiple lives? Because it's part of the soul path. It's part of the soul journey. So we can learn all kinds of things. And you guys are going to hear, just hold on to that question about why do we have multiple lives? You're going to hear her talk about that in just a little bit. So hold on. Can they go back? Can they go back where? Oh, can they go back to the castle? You're going to get that question answered too. So hold on. Here's the rest of the story. So then I said, so what ends up happening in that life? I said, and she said, something happens to my husband and he dies. So then it's just me and my daughter. I have this thought about how I wished he would die, but I didn't kill him. But I have a thought that I caused him to die because I wished he was dead. There is relief that he's gone. It's a very lonely life. It's a relief that he's gone, but I still feel very lonely, she said. And then I asked, what do you do next? And she said, I live off the land and I have a survival intelligence and I just know how to do that. My dad cut me off because I made the choice to not marry a wealthy person. And my mom seems like she has a mental illness and I don't have any connection with either of them. My brother, I don't know where he is. I feel like I see myself getting ill and then I die in my little shanty. I feel like my daughter is maybe about 8 years old. So she's all alone. She can't go back home. She has no connection with her family in the castle anymore. Yeah, Sandra said, I'm interested in doing something like this because I have a lot of traumas and want to know. You're going to hear in a little while, guys, how much healing she gets. It is incredible. You can get so much healing in this. Not only this, but also in something that I teach called theta healing. And if you guys want to know more about theta healing, I have a video about it on my YouTube channel, Woke Light Worker. And there's a tab for it in my bio in TikTok. It is amazing. You want healing, theta healing, or this is like the quick, powerful ways to get healing. But anyway, okay. I said, what happens to you just before you take your last breath? Like, what's going on? Where are you? What's going on? She said, I see myself in bed and my daughter is there with me. She seems sad but peaceful. I think she watched me suffer for quite some time. I feel like there was something, then it spread all over, maybe some sort of cancer. I think she goes and lives with another family, not related to us, just another family, maybe somebody she knew from the community. It feels like she's okay with this family that she goes off to. And then I said, so what happens after you take your last breath? So imagine that you're like above your body looking down. What do you notice or feel? And she said, it was a sad life and I was very isolated and believed something about my mental illness that ended up not being true. But it kept me isolated mentally, emotionally, and physically throughout my lifetime. It was a very heavy life, and I was unable to manifest a life of what I experienced in the meadow. So again, earlier as a child, she would go to the meadow and find so much freedom and peace, but she wasn't able to bring that into the rest of her life, to incorporate those same feelings into the rest of her life. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, you do that by connecting to and learning how to live as your higher self. And you can learn how to literally make heaven on earth. I mean, that meadow for her was her heaven on earth. She said, I never learned how to do that. That was one regret she had. And then she said, I was unable to manifest that in the reality of my life. Instead, I pulled what happened in the castle in a different form, that same isolation, that sadness, that alone feeling, even though I went against my father. I thought if I went against my father, I could have what I had in the meadow. But it didn't work out that way. I attracted the energy of my father manifesting in my husband. So she had some unhealed stuff, unhealed trauma about her father. And because it was unhealed, she attracted that same energy in her husband. I knew joy and peace in the meadow, but I wasn't able to bring that to fruition for myself as a reality in that life. And somehow that mental illness I thought I had was part of the reason why. It was part of the puzzle. And I said, so you mean other people put a label on you? And she said, yes. And I thought it was true. That realization that it wasn't true didn't come to me until later when I lived in the shanty. She said, I had a type of intelligence. It just wasn't the same type of intelligence that the people around me had. And so they labeled me as mentally ill. And I'll tell you guys just really quickly, I am learning a lot about things that a lot of people would label mental illness or say, oh, that person's crazy or something like that. And I'm finding the spiritual reasons for them and learning about the spiritual reasons and kind of untangling all the cords and figure out what's going on. And it's pretty remarkable. I actually don't believe in mental illness anymore. I think it's a label because there's a spiritual thing going on and doctors have no idea what it is. So it's really fun. It's a fun part of my job and I'm being challenged with more and more of that in my work lately. And it's very interesting and I love it. So I desperately need to learn how to live as my highest self. Yes. And again, I have a course on my website, wokelightworker.com, called Connecting to Your Higher Self. It's a 4-week course. I think it was like 2 hours a night that I did it for 4 weeks straight with homework in between, teaching you what is your higher self in detail, the difference between your higher self and your personality, your persona, and how do you live as your higher self. So check that out on my website, wokelightworker.com. Oh, okay. Thank you, Linda. Okay. So then I said, what lessons do you feel you learned in that lifetime? So, I mean, we don't want our past lives to be in vain. Lives are lived for us to learn lessons. And if we don't learn a particular lesson, we can go ahead and repeat them because we didn't learn them. So the last thing we want to do is constantly keep repeating lives that have the same exact lessons in them. I mean, oh my gosh, that would be just like a looping merry-go-round. And why would you want to do that? Just the same thing over and over and over because we can't learn the lessons. So that's where coming and living consciously, paying attention to what's really going on in your life. What lessons am I meant to learn from this experience or that experience or this person or that person or from my mom or my dad? Learning the lessons that you are meant to learn can help you from having to repeat the same lessons many lifetimes over. I see it all the time. So, okay. She said, my lessons from that lifetime, to really stay connected and true to myself rather than what other people, society, or my parents, no matter what they say. It doesn't have to be my truth. Isn't that awesome? So it doesn't matter what anyone else says. You are the only authority for your life. If you are in your power, you can know that. You are the only authority, and anyone else's truth does not have to be your truth. And then, of course, if people insist on their truth being your truth, then being in your sovereignty and in your power, it's setting boundaries and distancing yourself from those people because no one else is your authority. You are your own authority unless you give other people that power. So that's being under someone's power versus being in your own power. ADHD coach here, but most of us are light workers. Nice, Jenny. I love it. Yeah, all of my hypnosis sessions are done online. So Tammy asked if I do distance-wise. Yeah, they're all done online. So yes, and you can see some of my sessions on my YouTube channel, Woke Light Worker, and see how they were all done online. So you can actually see live sessions. I mean, recorded sessions that were live. Okay, so more lessons from this life. She said, I need to look within for my own answers, no matter what age I am. My mind can't help to compare that with the life I am in presently, she said. It's this feeling now of being trapped again in a way because I want to live in that meadow of peace and harmony, but I feel like I'm living out the motions in this life just for it to be over. And my meadow and my peace will be in the afterlife. And I'm unable to create that in the physical plane here on earth. Similar energies, just not quite as drastic in this lifetime. So with her, she has this feeling like she doesn't want to be on earth. And I see it a lot on my social media that a lot of people feel the same way. They really just don't want to be here. They feel like, I don't want to be here. I want out. Why would I ever choose to come here? I don't believe I chose to come here. And she's in the same boat, feeling the same way. And so she said she feels like she's just carrying out the motions and just biding her time and working her job and living her life, but she really doesn't want to be here. If you have that perspective and that attitude, guess what? The chance is you're probably going to repeat this life again because you're not learning the lessons that your soul wants to learn. You're succumbing to the ego and to victim lower self attitudes versus higher self. You're succumbing to lower self or ego or a victim mentality instead of being in your power, stepping into your incredible power of your goddessness, so your godness, and taking this life by storm and making it everything you would want it to be. And so she compared that life to this one and said, wow, there's a lot of similarities with that. Because in this life, she wanted to know how she could also have more joy in her life. So other people are agreeing with this. Okay, on social media. Okay. She said, I learned that I can take care of myself with little or no resources. And in that lifetime, I think I could have taken better care of myself if I had had support and community and a network of family and friends that felt healthy and balanced to call into my life. I structured it in a way to be very isolated, which was not healthy. I saw I could stand on my own 2 feet and take care of myself and my daughter off of nature and the land, but we both could have flourished if I would have been more connected to the community. So community, togetherness, connecting with other people. Next, I said, what do you do next? You hang around there for a while. What do you do? She said, I watch my daughter go to this other family. She goes and she is safe. So I feel at peace with that. Then I go rest to prepare myself for the next lifetime. I need to consult with my angels and my team and to map out what is next for my soul. There's lots of white light. There's other spirits around. It feels light and happy and joyful. I feel like I consult with my guides and also other family members I have had over different lifetimes. I get a sense of community and connection that I did not partake in on Earth. It feels like I'm home. And that's the place and the feeling that a lot of people on a deep soul level, they know that feeling. They want to be back there. And that's what they want. They want that connection, that oneness. But you can have that here if you learn how to live as your higher self. That's my whole point. Giving up the ego, giving up ego living, ego life, persona living, lower self living, and living as your higher self. You can have that here. No matter what happens outside of you, it doesn't matter. Okay. So let me see. Spiritual reason for clinical anxiety. Okay, let me just touch on that quickly, even though it's not related to this story, but anxiety is when you're worried about things that are going to happen in the future based on things that have happened to you in your past. So you're not living in the present moment. So anytime I'm dealing with a client that has anxiety and I talk to the person's higher self, they always tell me that exact thing. They're too much in their head and they're not in the present moment. They're not living in the present. So being mindful, being conscious, meditating, learning to catch your thoughts and not let them just think about the past or worry about what might happen in the future. It's really just being in the present moment, right here, right now, focused on your body, focused on your breath, whatever that might be. Okay. All right. So let me move on. Then I said, what did it entail to consult with your guides and your family members? So again, this is her life in between lives. So this is when she's in the non-physical or the spiritual realm. So after she died in that past life. She said with her team, we talk about that life and we analyze it, the similarity to that life and this life. In this life, I'm also isolating myself very similarly to that life. And when I go and I'm resting out with the angels and the guides in this community, it feels like I'm home and I feel sad because it's like that's where I want to be. In this lifetime, I feel tired in this life and we're calling her Mrs. Smith. I feel tired in this life as Mrs. Smith. I'm repeating the same pattern over and over and over, she said. I feel tired of the same pattern. And then she started to get emotional. And she said, it's like I'm not getting it. I'm not getting the lesson 100%. And Mrs. Smith wants to get this lesson. So, and then I'm told later in the session that she has repeated this same type of pattern in numerous lives. This is not the first time she's having this pattern. And so, yeah, her soul is feeling tired. So, just looking, I said, what happens in the meeting with your guides? And she said, we're just looking at everything objectively, like the fear of my father, the isolation, the labels that I took on to be my own. I'm taking all of it very objectively. And then what I talk about what I want to do in the next life. Where is the next life going to be? Trusting myself seems to be what my soul is on the quest to learn. And it's to really learn to trust myself. And I've agreed with myself to come back to Earth. And that is one of my major quests I have for my soul, is to really trust myself and trust my connection with my higher self and the spirit world. Thank you, Goddess Energy, for the rose again. And live that life on Earth so I can have the piece of the meadow all the time with me, instead of this back and forth dichotomy from peace to chaos. If and when I get to a place where I trust myself, I can have the peace that I long for. Did you guys hear that? That is a major, major thing. Self-trust, learning how to trust yourself. And if you don't know how to trust yourself, it's examining, what is it going to take to trust myself? Shortcut answer, we haven't got there in her session yet. Shortcut answer is you need to be connected to your higher self and your spirit team, because you lean on them, you lean on your intuition, which doesn't lead you astray when you learn how to listen to it and obey it when it talks to you, and you won't be led astray. And so that is how you learn to trust yourself, because you're actually really not trusting yourself, like the ego self. You're trusting your higher self. You're trusting your spirit team. That's how you learn to trust yourself. So it's working on building that connection again with your higher self and with your spirit guides. Okay. So let me see what somebody said here. What is the spiritual reason behind being on the autistic spectrum? I notice people who are on the spectrum have challenges connecting to other people. Okay, every time I've asked about anyone on the spectrum, it's always that they did not want to come and experience a traditional life. They didn't want to be stuck in a box and have to meet the expectations of society. They came down here to do it their way. They came here to be able to live outside of the box that the matrix would otherwise put them in. Get on a bus, go to school 8 hours a day for 12 years, and, go get a job and sit in an office, sit in a cubicle, all those things. So those who come here on the spectrum chose that they don't want that. They want something different in their life. And they come here, of course, to teach lessons to their family members. It might be patience, unconditional love, all kinds of things. So there's always something in it for them and everyone who's in their life. And then PCOS, yes, I don't remember off the top of my head. Somebody's asking about PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. I don't remember. I've had a number of people with that, but it has to do, and everybody's is going to be different. Sometimes in the higher self hypnosis sessions, they had trauma from past lives where they lost children or died in childbirth, and there was just trauma in that area. And so in the higher self hypnosis session, we did a lot of healing about that. I have one particular client who's had a number of sessions with me, and she, Trisha said, hi, Tracy. Hi. And she actually did all the healing on herself in meditation, and she calls meditation medication. That is her medication. She was on anxiety medications, antidepressant medications. She had really, really awful childbirth. I mean, she had all kinds of things. When she started doing meditation every single day, she doesn't miss, because it is her medication, and it completely flipped her life completely around, healed all those things. She did a few sessions with me, got to understand why her first baby childbirth was so difficult. And then she recently had another baby that ended up being amazing. And it was a miraculous baby, because she got so much healing from her higher self, and in her sessions and in her meditations, that she cleared all that up. So PCOS can have a number of issues. It can be related to mother issues, mother traumas. It really just depends. There's no like one size fits all for any trauma, not for the most part. And so it really just figuring out with you and your higher self what's going on there, and then healing it, because it's usually as a result of some sort of trauma, either in this life, generationally, that was passed down to you from your ancestors, or stuff that happened in this life. So that's PCOS. Okay, so I asked her, wait, hold on. She said, and this is her talking to her spirit team again. She said, I have such a support system around me, and they're all nodding their heads and saying, we are in this together. And even though we are here, we're here with you all the time. Truly rely on yourself and trust in yourself. And then I asked, do you plan a redo so you can learn that lesson? Her higher self, or she said, I feel like I have redone that situation many, many lifetimes, and today still in this lifetime. But it's getting better, but it's taking a long time. I do not know if it's a long time. I feel like, is it time? I do not know. It feels like the lifetimes are a blink of an eye, but then my soul feels frustrated that it's taking so long. There's some sort of frustration there around repeating it over and over and over, of being tired. But then there is some part of me that is saying, it's really just the blink of an eye. I keep picking up on this idea of duality, like there's an inner conflict, even in my soul, that is the same theme of the meadow and the castle. Remember, the meadow was the peace, the castle was the chaos, and the the control and the tyrant father. She said, I want to stay here with my committee, with my spirit team, where I'm home, but then I want to go back to Earth to learn. I do, but I don't. It's this inner conflict. It's like a push-pull, she said. It's like an itch that I can't scratch, like that. It's not, it's like I can't get this soothing feeling. I know I have to come back to Earth. It's a feeling of having to come back to Earth, not that I'm choosing to, but I know if I stay where I feel like it's home, then I'm not learning what my soul wants to learn. That's the best way I can think to describe it, she said. So for everyone, again, who feels like, I really don't want to be here, if you really didn't want to be here, your soul wouldn't have sent you here. Because your soul wants more than not being here. Your soul really wants to grow and expand and learn, because that's living, that's life, that's creating. We're creators. We are fractals of God, fractals of Creator. We are meant to create. And you don't create anything by staying stagnant. You don't create anything. So it's against our very nature to just be like, oh, I'm just going to stand here in the spirit realm and I'm never going to grow and I'm never going to expand. Like, we don't do that. That's not it doesn't feed our soul. So, she said, okay. So Rita said she's studying QHHT level 1. Thank you for the roses. QIS? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. And some people don't believe in past lives. That's fine. It's not very often that it happens. I'm like, well, let's just do it for fun. Let's just see what happens. And sometimes they're open to it. And I tell them, if there is no past life, if there is no such thing as past lives, you won't see anything. But let's just be open to it. Let's just be open. And I'd probably give them some reading to do, like maybe Dolores Cannon's book called 5 Lives Remembered. I'd probably give them that book to read, at least on Audible, because it's a super short one and it's super interesting. So if they're not, though, I would just take them directly into talking to their higher self. Thank you, QS, again. Thank you. Are there many earths or realms? If so, why do souls choose this particular realm? So we choose where we are going to learn the lessons that our soul wants for us at that moment. So guys, imagine time is circular. It's not linear. It's not straight. Like, here's the past and here's the future. It's not like that. It's a circle. And so it's just like around. And so, like, let's say that 1700 is like in one corner. And then you've got, the year 2080 on this corner, opposite corners. You can actually just jump anywhere around that ring, anywhere in between, and go into any time and any kind of life around that circle where you need to learn a particular lesson that your soul wants to learn at that time. But it's almost like always an upward climb. And so it's just like if you start in kindergarten and you go through 12th grade. It's like, okay, I need to learn this in order to know how to do this in this lifetime, but then I need this lifetime to do this in this lifetime, and I need this to do this in this lifetime. So it's like we're picking up skills and abilities that will stay with us on a soul level. That's why learning the lessons in each lifetime are so important, because it's the lessons. The skills, the virtues, the lessons is what we take with us on a soul level to the other lives. And so when we do that, we can jump all over that round circular thing that we call time. Thank you, QS, for the hearts. So that's what we can do. We can literally jump everywhere around. So I want to go back to the 80s again, because that was just like the best time ever. So I keep telling my spirit team, I'm like, send me back to the 80s and let me be like a hard rock band drummer or something, like really live a wild life. Like, that'd be so fun. That's what I want. Okay, anyway. So I asked her, do you have the option of saying, no, I'm not going back? And she said, yes. I do feel like I have that option, but I feel like I would not be growing anymore. And then I would judge myself for not growing. Like, isn't that interesting? She feels like she would judge herself for not growing if she didn't come back to Earth or whatever planet. You can learn on other planets too. Doesn't really matter. So interesting, right? Yeah, we can absolutely ask Creator what virtue it is we need to learn. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's where something called theta healing is really amazing, guys. Again, if you want to learn about theta healing, you can click the link in my bio on TikTok or Instagram and learn about theta healing. I have another class, a round of classes coming up the end of January. So get your Christmas out of the way, get your Thanksgiving out of the way, all the holidays out of the way, get a couple paychecks coming in first. And then the end of January, it starts back up again. It is life changing. If you want healing, it's theta healing, THETA. It's amazing. Oh, thank you, Kiwis. Oh my gosh, she's giving me like a ton of roses on TikTok. Thank you. So yeah, the goal is enlightenment. The goal is absolutely enlightenment. Our souls want to become enlightened. So, oh, thank you guys for the roses on TikTok. All right. So I said, and that judgment would feel worse than not going to Earth. And she said, yes. When you asked me that question, the first thing I thought was that mental illness I felt like I had in that lifetime as a kid. It creates this energy circle that goes around and around and around. Like there's no escape for it. It's like a little tornado. It's like an inner turmoil because there are other souls that don't feel resistant. But I have some resistance going back to Earth. But then there's resistance to not coming back to Earth. It's kind of exhausting. So she feels resistance about going to Earth, but then feels resistance about not coming back to Earth. And it's like this inner turmoil. So I said, so it's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And she said, yeah, exactly. So then after this, I called forth her higher self. And then when I say I call forth someone's higher self, they're channeling their higher self. So for me, I give them guidance on what does it mean to channel your higher self, because your higher self is you. Again, if you miss that conversation, go back and catch my live replay of this because I talked about what is the higher self at the very beginning. So go back and watch the live. Once this is completely done, it'll be on the live tab on my YouTube. But I asked, so I teach people, how do you channel your higher self? What is that like? And most people who do sessions with me, opposite of the training that I received, saying everybody's a trance channeler and they're somnambulistic and everybody just gets knocked out. I was not finding that when I did these sessions. So my higher self became my trainer and then taught me how to teach people how to be conscious channelers or semi-conscious channelers. So in other words, it feels like when you're in this, I don't like to say hypnotic, it's more of a meditative state in a theta brainwave. So there's the different brainwaves. Theta is the slow brainwave state right before delta. Delta is sleeping. So getting into a theta brainwave state or an alpha or a theta brainwave state, slowing everything way down. I do that with the meditation that I do for them. And then how the clients describe it for me is they're like, it was me talking, but it wasn't me, but it was me. Like it was my voice, but it wasn't me, but it was me. It's almost like they said they feel like they're sitting in the backseat of a car and someone else is driving and they can kind of hear what's going on and the words just flow out of their mouth, which is awesome because you're learning what it feels like to channel your higher self, which is so cool. So now after the end of the session, you know what that feels like. So then you can learn how to do that on your own in a meditation because now you know what it feels like. So that's my goal, is for you to make that connection. Not always need someone to be an intermediary for you, but to be able to experience that is pretty cool. So let me see if anybody else said anything. Trisha said, yes, theta healing. Highly recommend Tracy's classes. Yes, it's amazing. And Trisha's in my classes now. And the best one is coming up this weekend. It's the 4th class. And I was just reviewing all my material and stuff today. And I was like, I think this is the best one. Like the best one is the fourth level. It's so, so good. We're going to learn some really amazing stuff, but it's so healing. It'll bring you healing like you never thought you could get healing. Guys, I walked out of taking theta healing classes, only the first 4 levels, about 6 years ago, or 5 or 6 years ago. And I walked out and I was already on my healing journey for the trauma that I had. And I said to myself, oh my gosh, I feel like I got what probably would have taken me about 2 years on my own to get healed just by being in that class, because you do a lot of partner work and so much learning. And it was truly amazing and life-changing for me. So yeah, Trisha said so excited for this weekend. Okay. All right. So I asked her higher self. So I call forth her higher self. She starts channeling her higher self. And I said, what was the reason you showed her that past life? I mean, I said, it's pretty obvious why you showed it to her, to show us that she's repeating the same thing. And her higher self said, so she can see the similarities of the lessons going on in this lifetime. And it's something she has been wanting to learn for many lifetimes. So awesome that she's hopefully going to be able to just master that in this lifetime, bringing the peace from that childhood and playing in the meadow and having so much peace into the rest of her life. And I might do a teaching on this sometime on how to do that, but I can't cover that now. I want to just focus on the session. So if you're not following me on TikTok and Instagram, make sure you're following me, because I share a lot of that stuff on those little 3-minute videos I make. I said she learned that trusting herself will bring her the peace that she longs for. What is it in her that needs to be healed in order for her to learn how to fully trust herself? Her higher self said she needs to connect more with her heart and nature, to have that heart connection and get quiet more often without distractions, so she can connect with her heart and with her higher self. So she needs to connect with her heart, nature, and her higher self in order to learn how to trust herself more. And I said, is that the same thing as having heart-mind coherence, or is it something different? So I don't know if you guys know who Dr. Joe Dispenza is. He talks a lot about heart-mind coherence. And so I just wanted to know if that was the same thing. And her higher self said, she is too much in her mind. Remove the mind and listen to the heart. She is overrun by her mind right now. And then her higher self gets more into that. So hold on. You'll see what I mean. So Supa Cody said, I don't ever want to leave my children. I love them so much. Do we have to leave them? We're always connected. So having that thought is a belief in separation. And that is an untruth. That is an illusion that there is such a thing as separation, that you could ever be separated from your children. That's a complete untruth. And so it's choosing to not believe in illusions and untruths, and choosing instead to believe in truth with a capital T. There is no such thing as separation. You will never be separated from your children, ever be separated from your children. So, and the thought of separation and the belief in separation causes us a lot of suffering in our lifetime. It's very painful to think about being away from our children, being separated from our children, leaving our children. That can be a really painful thought. And it's painful because it's an untruth. It's not the truth. So, Cindy said, oh my God, I missed you. You're back on my For You page. Love you. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I can't control the algorithm on Instagram or TikTok or anything else. It's like, if you don't spend a bunch of money on advertising on their sites, they just kind of shadow ban you. So, and I don't play that game. So if you're following me, then just click on the following tab, and then you can look at people that you follow on their videos. Okay. So I said, how does she get out of her mind? Not in that way, but how does she stay out of living in her mind and live from her heart space? Hold on. I'm going to take a drink of my kombucha. Absolutely love kombucha. So the other day, last weekend, I went camping with my family, with my kids and my son's girlfriend. And I forgot my kombucha, and I just yelled out. I said, where the F is my kombucha? So my daughter-in-law said, I'm going to get you a t-shirt that says, where the F is my kombucha? I love kombucha. Okay. Anyway, so how does she get out from living in her mind and live from her heart space? Her higher self said she can do visualizations of breathing in and out of her heart. Visualizations of breathing in and out of her heart. She can send herself the compassion that she needs from the higher power through her head and visualizing it going into her heart. These are all things she knows how to do, but forgets because she's so much in her head and in the constant chatter of her head. So again, I said earlier, you have to learn how to take control of your thoughts because no one else is going to take control of your thoughts except you. No one else can come in and do it. You can't go inside someone else's head and do that. So you got to learn how to take control of your own thoughts, or you will be run by them. You will be run by the ego, by past thoughts, by the past beliefs that will just run and ruin your life. So she needs to put up notes all around her house and in her car to remind her of these techniques that she can do. And when she practices it, it will become natural for her to do it. Anything she loves, crystals, plants, trees, her husband, anything that brings her joy, visualize them in her heart. That will help her connect the vibration or the frequency of those tangible items to her heart. Connecting the vibration into her heart is going to help that vibration to be in her entire body, which will change the state of her mind in a way that will always loop back to her connecting to her heart center. So again, it's like that heart-mind coherence and feeling that looping through your whole body instead of just letting the mind go wild and have whatever it wants. Right now, the vibration goes straight to the head, and she has been trying to remember when she speaks to speak from her heart. She learned that a couple of months ago, but constantly forgets. The notes will remind her of that, and eventually it will become part of how she communicates, communicating from the heart. So that's the big thing I told you guys. Stick around. There's something really amazing you're going to be able to grab and use for yourself to change your life. This is it. This is it. Okay. So again, there's my husky behind me. I don't know if you guys can see him. It's Shadow, my baby. So how does she live from her heart space and not be in her mind and in her thoughts? So again, the visualizations of breathing in and out of her heart, send herself compassion from Creator through her head, visualizing it going into her heart, putting up notes all around your heart, your house. I'm saying all around your house about living and communicating and just being in your heart space, not in your head, your heart. And what I tell people sometimes, I heard this from someone else's higher self, said, anytime you catch yourself being in your head, just imagine that it's almost like an elevator, that the rope was cut on the elevator and it just goes boom and it just drops into your heart, like the elevator just drops down. And then just go, oops, wrong floor, boom, and just drop down into your heart space and go, there, that's better. I need to be thinking, talking, acting from this place, not this place. Because up here is where the ego lives. This is the ego's territory. This is spirit territory. The heart is spirit territory. The ego does not live in the heart. Does that make sense, everybody? Let me see if anybody else has said any questions that I want to look at. I'm interested in your theta course. If you go in my TikTok bio, guys, or even go to wokelightworker.com on my website, you can check out my courses. And there's one called Theta Healing. There, I teach the first 4 levels, which are prerequisites for the higher level courses, which I'll tell you about once you're in my classes, but you got to get through the first 4. It's only 10 days worth of classes. It's 4 weekends, a 3-day weekend, we skip a week, a 3-day weekend, we skip a week, 2-day weekend, skip a week, 2-day weekend. And at the end of that 10 days, your life will never be the same. Just telling you right now, it will never be the same. You will get healing that will blow you away. You'll learn how to do massive, massive healing on yourself and others. You can actually start a business because you'll be a certified theta healer. So it's pretty cool. All right. So you can go to my website, wokelightworker.com, click on courses and theta healing to learn more about that and to register. Okay. They start the end of January. So I said, next to her higher self, I said, would it benefit her? Guys, this is theta healing. I take theta healing and I use a lot of theta healing stuff inside my hypnosis sessions. This is an example of using theta healing inside my hypnosis. So here's my question. Would it benefit her to have you, her higher self, download Creator's definition of trust into her and have her definition of trust match Creator's definition of trust? And tell us what that looks like as you do it. And then her higher self said yes. But one other thing I want to say about the last topic. If Mrs. Smith practices with these notes, she will realize that the problem solving she does in relation to her work that she does almost every day that she thinks she has to do from her head, she can actually do that from her heart. And she will see more harmonious and more peaceful outcomes when she problem solves from her heart and not from her head. So that was cool. So then I asked again, can you download Creator's definition and perspective of trust into her, erase her version of trust and download Creator's definition? And she said, yes, it looks very aligned now. It was an instant shift. So the higher self went and did the work. In theta healing, we visualize what that looks like to download something. We pull a lot of trauma from people in theta healing, a lot of trauma, or ourselves. We learn how to do it on ourselves. And then we plant all kinds of good things in the place where the trauma used to be. In this case, Creator's definition of trust. Pretty cool, huh? Trust, being able to trust in herself. We're talking about self-trust right now. Someone asked, what is trust? So being able to trust in herself. Like, what does that look like and feel like from Creator's perspective to trust in herself? That's what we were downloading. So then I said, would it also benefit her, more theta healing, if you download this program into her? I know what it feels like. I know that it's possible. And I know how to fully and completely trust myself. And tell us what that looks like. And her higher self said, yes, it looks like something that can be taken in on every level: mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, ethereal. It can surround her and her thoughts, her feelings, everything. And then I said, is there anything else that needs to happen with her in order for her to stop this looping pattern in these lives of being unhappy, of feeling trapped, of not wanting to be here on earth? And anything else that she needs to master? And her higher self said, it feels like there's more learning for her to do. It feels like something that we can work on together. If she reaches out to me, we can do some work together, some more healing. And maybe it's going to come after this session is done, whatever work is given, because she's very eager to heal. And it feels like a journey we're going to take together. Isn't that cool? Like, her higher self is totally like we're partners now, we're linking up. I thought that was so cool. So, see if anyone else. Okay, so we're talking about this client's higher self hypnosis session, and this is where the higher self is talking. We already went through the past life. I told you what the higher self is. If you missed any of this again and you're just jumping on, you can catch my live replay on my YouTube channel, Woke Lightworker. Okay. So I then did something, and this is also from Theta Healing, and it's called a baby in the womb healing. So she had issues with her mother. So she did not have a good childhood. So I asked her higher self if it would benefit her to have the higher self go back in time, so to speak, right? We know there's no such thing as time, but go back in time to when she was a baby in her mother's womb, and to surround that baby with a bubble of unconditional love and light that protects her from any toxins or poisons her mother may have inhaled or ingested, and that also shields her from her mother's emotions and stresses so that they don't affect her as a baby in the womb, so that it shields her and protects her, and keep that bubble around her while she's in her mother's womb and through the birthing process. And how about if we also leave that bubble of unconditional love around her while she's growing up as a child, so that anytime she doesn't feel loved from her external environment, she has that bubble of unconditional love that's just all around her. And her higher self said, yes, It feels phenomenal. It feels like it's filling up every single hole and every single cell that needs filling up. It's bringing her into completion. It feels like a sponge, like something that wasn't there, that she didn't even know she didn't have. And now it's filled up. Thank you, Super Vixen, for the rose on TikTok. Isn't that amazing? And she got kind of emotional about it. Like it just felt amazing to just be surrounded by that love from the birth. And then I said, because she has all these issues with her mom, right? I said, what understanding can you give her about her mother that would help her release the unforgiveness, the anger, and the resentment that she has towards her mother? And her higher self said, listen to this, guys. This is different. Understanding that they agreed to these roles in this lifetime, and that is not how it will always be between them. Their souls will co-create in more time and more space in the future, just as they have in the past with different roles. They switch and flip-flop and change. This is just how it has been in this little short space and time, right? So I said, so in other words, you want her to look at this from a much higher soul perspective. Is that what you're saying? Because right now, obviously, she's in the emotion of it and the feeling of trauma and being wronged. And my mother was a bad mother and she should have done this and she should have done that and she should have done all these things. Her mother made a lot of really bad choices in regards to men and brought some very dark men into their home and into their lives. She has a younger brother, and they both had a lot of trauma as a result of this. So she has a lot of problems forgiving her mother and feeling resentful for her mother. So I said, you want her to look at it from a higher soul perspective. And her higher self said, yes, looking at it from how I see it. Know how I know it to be from the past and how it is and how they have agreed to interact with each other. So this was an agreement of how they were going to have this relationship and what was going to happen for the lessons mom needed to learn and for the lessons that my client, who we're calling Mrs. Smith, needed to learn. This was all agreed upon. This was all set in motion, all set in place. And we get here in the earth and we're just so connected to our lower self, our egos, our persona, that we forget because we're not connected to our higher self. We're not living as our higher self. And so we forget that this is how it's supposed to be. If everything were perfect and wonderful and nothing ever challenging ever happened and everyone treated us like perfect and like an angel, you would never learn anything. You might as well stay in the spirit side. Like there's no reason to come here. This is a school. You don't go to school because you know everything. You go to school because there's a lot you need to learn. Earth is a school. You can call it a prison planet if you want. That's the perspective you're going to have. That's the perspective you're going to get. But it's a school. And Dolores Cannon, everybody knows who Dolores Cannon is. If you don't, you need to go look her up. Even said that session after session after session after session. Earth is a school. And I'm told that all the time in my sessions. Earth is a school. It's not a prison planet. It's a school. Okay. So somebody asked, let me see. Hypnosis has to be done when practicing theta healing ? Also when I practice theta healing on myself. Thank you for your time. Sharing your knowledge. No, I'm saying I use theta healing inside of my hypnosis. So theta healing is something that you learn outside, totally independent of hypnosis, but I just kind of took the two and mushed them together, and I use theta healing inside my sessions. So, but theta healing is amazing to learn for yourself so you can get constant healing literally on a minute by minute basis in your life. Anytime anything triggers you, you use theta healing on yourself to dig out what is causing that and then heal yourself. So again, if you want to learn more about theta healing, I actually have a free 30-minute webinar. You can watch it in the link in my bio or on my website. wokelightworker.com. Click under courses. There's a free theta healing video. It goes into even more information about what is theta healing. And again, those classes start the end of January 2024. Okay. So her higher self said, they can call on each other anytime. It's kind of like there is always an alignment with different spirits. And Mrs. Smith, my client, interacts with, but they don't always interact, but they can call on each other whenever they want. And in the blink of an eye, they can interact. It doesn't really matter. The message I want to give her about this topic is that it's not such a big deal that she's made it. Wow. That's kind of like, what do you mean it's not a big deal? Like, this has been traumatizing me my entire life, the way my mother was, and bringing in these men who did these awful things. Like, what do you mean I'm making a big deal out of it? Like, somebody might think like that. But again, that's thinking as the lower self. And the higher self is saying you need to think of it from the higher self perspective. You need to connect with the higher self. She has made so many roads in her mind lead back to her mom and blaming her mom. And it's not such a big deal. It's not so heavy. She can lighten up on it a little bit and know that it's a little blip in time. And whatever doesn't get worked out in this life with who she calls mom in this life, there will be eons and lifetimes and years to work it out and laugh about it. It's not so heavy as she has made it out to be in this lifetime. What do you guys think about that? Right? That's a way to look at it, right? But that is looking at it from your higher self perspective. It's not looking at it like, oh, I'm a victim. I'm in this trauma. I'm in this pain. And you're just going to keep yourself looping in that same unforgiveness, those same patterns, repeating the same things over and over. If that's what you're going to do, if you're going to live as your lower self, you're going to keep looping around in those same things, because that's all the lower self, the persona, the ego knows how to do. It's not there. Your ego is not there to lift you up out of this. You have to connect your anchor to your higher self if you want to get lifted out of this way of thinking and this way of living and a victim mentality. Let me see what anyone else has said. How do we know when we are heart-centered? Because you're living and acting and speaking from a totally different way than you normally have, and from a place of love and kindness and compassion and grace. You're not a doormat. You're never a doormat, but you respond and talk and act from kindness. And let me give you a good book, guys. It's called One Truth, One Law, I Am, I Create. And I'm going to type it in the chat in YouTube. One Truth, One Law, I Am, I Create. By Aaron Worley. I just typed it in the chat in YouTube. So, but One Truth, One Law, I Am, I Create by Aaron Worley. And that will answer a lot of your questions. She teaches you in there because she was channeling her God self. It's a short book. I recommend reading it at least 50 times, no joke, to reprogram your mind on what it means to live as your God self versus living as your persona or your lower self. It's an amazing book. I've probably listened to it at least 60 times, and I still listen to it every once in a while to get a refresher. And how to be heart-centered. Okay, so then, guys, this is what I asked. So again, she's supposed to, with regard to her mom, look at it from how the higher self sees it, that they agreed to treat each other this way and interact this way, and they keep swapping roles back and forth. And she's probably the same way this mom is to her in other lives. So then I said, can you untangle and remove the web of false truths and emotions that are from her, my client's, lower self, her mom's lower self, and all the actions and words resulting from both of them living as their lower selves, because they didn't know how to live as their higher selves yet. Take all of the words, actions, and thoughts from both of their lower selves, untangle all of that, send it all up to Creator's light, and replace it with Creator's definition and perspective of truth in regards to her mother and any love her mother has for her. And then have all of this be filtered through Creator's highest truth for my client. And tell us what that looks like. Her higher self said, yes, that feels so much better. It was like a big web, and it feels so much better. I think she's going to have more mental freedom around the subject of her mom, and the love will flow more freely because the web of confusion has been lifted. Love is so pure, and it is a free-flowing energy, which is the opposite of the chaos of the web that was there. So it feels much more light, which I think will translate into what she has been in the past, more like in her mental space. And we're going to work on getting more heart-centered. And this love, it's the perfect opportunity for the love to flow through into the heart rather than trying to mentally figure everything out. She can practice with the love for her mom. Wasn't that cool? That was so cool, right? I love that. Okay, then I said, still mom issues. We're cleaning up mom issues. I wanted to make sure this was all cleaned up. I asked if there were any energetic cords connecting her and mom. And if yes, we got to get those cut. We're adults. We do not want to have cords with anyone, except if we have young children. Even our adult children, you don't want to have cords connected to them. Guys, think of umbilical cord. You don't want to. It's an energy draw both ways. And they're independent souls. It doesn't matter if there are children or not. When they're young children, yeah, you want to have a cord connected to them. But when they're adults, or especially with parents, we definitely don't want cords connected to parents or other relatives or past loves or anything like that. If you have a spouse or a partner, you're going to have a cord connected to them because you're with them all the time. You're sleeping with them. But I asked if she had any energetic cords connected to mom, and she's pretty distant from mom right now, doesn't have a lot to do with mom. She tries to establish boundaries with mom. Her higher self said, yes, there is one. It's almost like an umbilical cord coming from her abdomen. And there is some sort of logic that she thought she had to have this cord for survival on definitely an unconscious level. But it feels like it's time to go ahead and cut that. So I asked her higher self if it would cut it, and her higher self said yes. And that feels better because that will allow for the heart to be receptive to this love energy between her and her mom. And there won't be confusion of this cord that used to be there. Isn't that cool? Right? It's pretty cool. Okay. So let me see what kind of comments. Recently, I've connected the words traumatic with dramatic to ease the pain. Oh, okay. Has she always been a female? I didn't ask that question. If this client has always been a female, I didn't ask that. I doubt it. I really doubt it. I'm not sure the question. Someone asked, isn't that kind of gaslighting? I'm not really sure. Oh, you mean when the higher self said she needs to look at it from a higher perspective? No, that would definitely not be gaslighting. That's teaching. Her higher self is just teaching her. If you don't want to be sitting in this pain, look at it from this way, which is truth with a capital T. I mean, if you want to sit in your own version of truth, what you think is truth, and be miserable and feel traumatized and feel sad and resentful and angry, your higher self will sit on the sidelines and eat popcorn and go, okay, I guess I'm just here to watch the show because she's not listening to me. Tell her how to get out of this. Okay, it's fine. You got free will. You can do what you want. We got many lives. We can go around this loop many times. But if we want to be connected to the higher self just kind of tells it like it is. There's no gaslighting on the spiritual side. There's no need to do that. It's just literally teaching her, if you want this is a way to do it. Are there other ways that she could let go of the trauma with regard to her mom? Yeah, there are. But this is the answer her higher self chose to give her for this, because apparently her higher self wants her to step it up and look at this situation from a higher perspective instead of looking at it from the lower self. So then I asked, Are there any soul fragments? Okay, if you've never heard soul fragments, I've got some videos on my TikTok about soul fragments. I asked, are there any soul fragments of hers, of my client, Mrs. Smith, that her mother or anyone else across any time, space, reality, or dimension is holding of hers? And if yes, can you go ask Creator to get those soul fragments, retrieve them, cleanse and clear them in Creator's light, infuse them with love, and then return them to her? And this is what her higher self said. Yes, there's lots of soul fragments. They are all over many, many lifetimes. I can gather them up and replace them with love and light. I feel like we can get most of them, but there's still a few left out there. With her mom, those are all cleaned up. I think she's going to have to do some sort of healing with me in the future to remove the rest of those soul fragments. We can't do them all. We did 90%. I said, are the other soul fragments out there from other dimensions or lifetimes? The answer was yes. So then I said, what kind of work will she need to do in order to retrieve those soul fragments? Right? They're from other lives, other dimensions. Like, how do we get these soul fragments back? Like on a conscious level, like how do we do that? So her higher self said, meditation, and we can connect. It feels like too much right now to remove that last little bit. Maybe I don't fully understand it at this moment, but the other dimension is not accessible to me at this time. But it will be. It's possible to remove them, but at this time and space, it's not the right time. So when I heard that, it makes me think, remember how I said at the very beginning, you have the oversoul, and the higher self is the voice of the oversoul. The oversoul is like the daddy soul, right? The mama soul. And you've got all these other little soul fractals coming out. And the higher self is the voice carrying out the mission or the direction of the oversoul. Well, it sounds to me like the oversoul is like, nope, not going there yet. That's a little above where she's at right now. She's not ready for that. We're going to give her what's appropriate for her right now in this time space dimension for her to heal and for her to resolve with these soul fragments. The other stuff's going to come. Just slow down a little bit. So when her higher self said, maybe I don't fully understand at this moment, but the other dimension is not accessible at this time, but it will be. It's not the right time. So her higher self wasn't given access to be able to do that. So that was a decision made, let's just say, a pay grade above the higher self. So interesting, right? Super interesting, right? Okay, whoops. Move the screen on there. Let me see. How does higher self communicate with us so that we may hear and recognize it besides meditation? Well, when I ask, it's meditation. It's like, and meditation doesn't mean you have to sit there for 30 minutes and just be like that. It's just clearing your mind. It's getting the babble and the busy monkey mind quiet. So it might be you're cleaning your house or you're doing the dishes. It happens to me a lot. I get downloads and hear things when I'm brushing my teeth. And everybody knows when you're in the shower, I mean, you get like all kinds of great ideas. It's because your mind's a little bit more clear. And that's another good place where your mind's a little bit more clear and you're getting messages and you're getting downloads. So it can be walking in nature, just really enjoying the scenery, anything like that. Or it can just be a focused intention on talking to your spirit team, talking to your higher self. Just talk. Your higher self is you. It's always there talking to you. It's always talking to you. It's usually just so jumbled with your lower self or your ego thoughts that you can't really separate the two. You don't know how because you haven't really learned yet. That's one way. The other way to be able to hear much more clearly from your higher self, from your spirit team in general, is healing trauma. Like that is one of the biggest things you can do to kind of clear away the debris and the clouds that keep you from being able to do that. let me click that button there. Sorry. So clearing trauma, healing trauma. Again, going back to the theta healing classes that I have starting the end of January. Like, guys, that was the key that helped me to be able to hear from my higher self, my spirit team, all the time. When I started clearing away so much trauma, I was walking my dog, my dog in the background here. I was walking my dog one day, and I said to my higher self, because it's just like I was able to have that back and forth conversation with my higher self. And I was like, this is so amazing. Like, this is what I've always wanted. This is so cool. Like, why did it take me so long to get there? I mean, so long. It was probably maybe, all of 9 months or whatever, but maybe a year or so. And my higher self said, because you know how you hear that the veil between the physical and the spiritual, it's just a veil. It's a thin veil. But yours was black, Tracy, because you had so much trauma and so many beliefs and just so much gunk on it that it was like we were talking to, but you couldn't hear it. You couldn't receive it. Like you were hearing little bits and pieces, but not like this back and forth, continuous conversation. So I go out and I walk my dog and I do it. And I am just talking to my higher self, doing theta healing on myself, looking at myself. What do I need to work on? What do I need to heal? Constantly talking to my higher self when I do these sessions. I channel my higher self when I do these sessions. So it's really just developing and building that relationship with your higher self. And again, I have a course on wokelightworker.com on connecting to your higher self. It was a 4-week course that I did teaching you how do you build that communication, and gives you like homework exercises to work on. It was a 4-week class that I did and recorded. So you can also go check out that if you want to. Let me see. Let me see. How come when we go back home to the Creator, we don't heal all of our traumas from our lifetime here and other dimensions? Why do we need to carry it in our DNA lifetime after lifetime until we do the healing work here on Earth? Because if you come here to learn the lesson on Earth, you want to resolve it on a soul level here on Earth. You're using this as your stage. So you might use another planet as a stage to learn a completely different lesson. So maybe it's a lesson of connection or whatever, and you want to learn that on Pluto or whatever, some other planet. But whatever stage you get on, because it's all a play. I mean, listen to the wonderful Dolores Cannon again. She's like, it's just a play. Whatever stage you get on, that's the stage you want to play it out on. And so that's why we continue to come back. Do you get some healing in between lives? Yeah, you do. Or you'd be a complete wreck. But the actual lessons, you want to play those out and do a lot of that healing when you come back, because it's a challenge for the soul. It's something for the soul to do. You get enlightenment, you get growth, you get expansion. Remember, we are a fractal of creator. We are creators, and creator expands and grows, and creator expands and grows through us having these experiences, because it all feeds up to creator and leads to even more expansion and more expansion and more expansion. So that's just the nature of life. Life is expansive and creative. I mean, you can see that all around you. Procreation. I mean, it's all about creation. And so that's what we want to do. Okay. So then, guys, I said, are there any soul fragments of her mother or anyone else that she, my client, Mrs. Smith, is holding in any time, space, dimension, or reality? And if yes, can you get those soul fragments from her, have creator cleanse and clear those, and give those back to the rightful owner? And the answer was yes. She has been overwhelmed with soul fragments, and it feels like they are all, and she is like an octopus, and it's coming out of every tentacle and being released into the universe and being sent to everyone they belong to. And it feels so much lighter. They are washed with water, and there's water running through her. They're all gone, and it's complete. Wow. I mean, just look at the healing and the clearing she's got already. So then I said, still mother issues. I said, she stated that the demanding child in her And the critical adult in her wants her mother to be different and loving and protective and supportive and nurturing and mature and have her act together. But in this lifetime, she didn't get a mother like that. Can we ask that she be given a quote unquote parallel mother who is all of those things, who meets all of these desires that both my client, the little her, and the her now desire? And can you energetically connect Mrs. Smith, my client, to that ideal parallel mother so that she can receive all of those things from her parallel mother? The protection, nurturance, support, unconditional love, guidance. And tell us what that looks like as you do it. I never asked that question before. It just like kind of came out and I was like, let me just ask. If it's not possible for you to get something like this, guys, I wouldn't be able to think of it, to ask it, because you can't ask for something that doesn't exist. So if you can think of something, that means it exists. Because if it didn't exist, you couldn't think of it. So anyway, her higher self said, yes, it's possible. There is a layer of it that connects back to the trust and trusting of herself and the realization that she does not need to get that from anybody else. The nurturance, the protection, the support, the unconditional love, and the guidance. She can fill her own cup in that way. And if she needs the maternal, listen to this. This is incredible, guys. If she needs the maternal, she can get that maternal energy out in the universe, as well as from Mother Earth. She can get all of that from the energy of Mother Earth and out in the universe. The work we are doing with being centered is going to mentally have her veer away from this cycle she has had in her head spinning around of her wanting this from her mother in this lifetime. And she's going to fill herself up from her heart, from these different elements of Mother Earth. And she can also use various angels. How healing is that? So if you got mother wounds. So then I said, can we ask Mother Earth right now to give her some Mother Earth energy to help her get going on this healing path of healing these mother wounds that she has? Her higher self said, yes, Mother Earth says that Mrs. Smith can call on that energy anytime. And she can also go lay on her anytime if she wants to feel a connection touching her body. So she can do it energetically, she can do it physically, and she also says she should hug more trees. Mrs. Smith likes to do that. She should do more of that, and Mother Earth also enjoys feeling that love. How cool is that? Okay, mother wounds. Talk to Mother Earth. Mother Earth. Talk to Mother Earth. Living in that heart space that we talked about in the beginning. Again, if you missed it, go back and watch the live because you missed the key. Healing in this whole thing of how to live in the heart space. She's going to be able to get that from there. And she doesn't, the lesson in this lifetime, guys, in any lifetime for any of us, here's the answer. The last chapter in the book. If you open a book, you're like, let me read the last chapter and see what happens. Here's the last chapter. We don't need anyone else because we are totally, absolutely 100% complete in ourselves if we live as our higher self. If we live as our lower self or our ego, we're going to live under the illusion and under these beliefs, these false beliefs and illusions that we are not complete, that we are separate from everyone and everything and creator, and we can't trust anyone, and we've got all these mother wounds, and we've got all this other stuff. Until we learn how to fill our own cup by living in our heart, and we can also use Mother Earth. So, yeah. Jackie says, I'll do that from now on. Thanks for that, Tracy. Yay. How do you call on the energy and energy or angels? Just call on it. Literally just call on it. I'm going to tell you guys one. You can call on Angel Sandalphon. Every time I lose something, I just look all over for it. I'm like, oh my gosh, where'd I put this? Where'd I put this? Where'd I put this? And I'm looking all over. And then all of a sudden, like my team, like as soon as my mind quiets for a second, then my team can talk to me. And they're like, Angel Sandalphon. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's right. And I call on Angel Sandalphon. And I say, Angel Sandalphon, can you please help me find my keys? And then I just quiet myself, because Angel Sandalphon can't talk through your chaotic mind either, like any other spiritual being can. They can't. You got to quiet your mind. And I just take a few breaths. And I ask to be shown a vision in my mind of where my keys are. Like we went camping last weekend. I have a little teeny tiny camper. I love it. And we took my little teeny tiny camper, and I just moved to Tennessee. And in the move, I couldn't remember what I did with my camper key. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going camping. Like, I need my key. Like, I can't even open my camper. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And I was like going around the house like crazy, like looking for this key. And I was like, Angel Sandalphon, where's my camper key? Show me a vision of where my camper key is. And I closed my eyes. And about the third or fourth breath, I saw a picture of the blue keychain hanging on a hook in my closet, buried under my purses. And there it was. So, Angel Sandalphon. But that's how you do it. You just call on them. Call on an energy, any energy. If you want to talk to the energy of money, you can talk to the energy of money, of abundance, the energy of anything, but you got to quiet your mind and don't doubt what you hear. You have to believe it. And it's a fake it till you make it thing. Okay? You're not using your logical mind, and this is not stuff they teach you in school. So are you going to feel a little crazy when you do it? You might, because you've never been taught how to do this. But I think the crazy one is the one who would still be running around for hours trying to find her keys, because I don't know how I ever would have found them buried under a bunch of purses on a hook. So, hey, if it works for you, it works. Let me see what anybody else said here. Can you ask where my daughter's lost ring is? No, I'm not a psychic. I don't do those types of things. I don't look for those things for other people. But you can ask, or your daughter can ask Angel Sandalphon where the lost ring is. Where are you in Tennessee? I am in the Nashville area, but I don't do sessions in person. I do all my sessions online. So we do everything on the web. So all you have to do is go to my website, wokelightworker.com, or go in my bio on TikTok, and you can click schedule a free 15-minute consultation call with me. And that's where I answer all your questions and see if this would be a good fit for you. I will tell you, you do have to be able to visualize or use your imagination in order to do a session with me. So, because how can you see a past life if you can't visualize? You really can't see a past life if you can't use your imagination. And everyone can. I don't care what name a doctor puts on it. Everyone can. Higher selves has said it many times. Everyone has the ability. For some reason, some people block themselves from being able to visualize or see things. And it's a matter of practicing. Practice guided meditations. And I have some on my website, wokelightworker.com, that you can practice with. So Maggie said, I'm in Nashville too. Yay. Yeah, I just moved here 3 months ago. So, and I sit hold up in my room and in my office so I can work on all my work. Let me see. Oh, Jessica, this is my first time coming across your page, and I absolutely love your energy. Thank you. This is the normal me. I can be a little crazier. I can be sassy, but I try to tone it down on here. Your necklace is pretty. Thank you. Thank you. I love it. Oops, my screen froze. Sorry. Is it unfrozen yet? Yeah, sorry guys, my screen froze because my phone's dying. Yikes. The TikTok one. Okay, let me go back a little bit. Okay, guys, so let me see the next question. I don't want to give away this woman's identity, so I don't want to explain too much about what happened, but there was a really traumatic event that happened to her when she was 7 years old, and her mother's boyfriend ended up unaliving 2 of their dogs. This man that her mom brought into the house. And so that's why she has a lot of trauma and a lot of resentment towards her mother because of these things that happened because of these men that her mother brought into the house. And so she was very traumatized by this. The one dog in particular was her dog, and she was very, very, very close to it. So I asked her higher self if it could remove all the shock and trauma from her body, because our body holds shock and trauma from all these events, all these things that happen to us in this lifetime and other lifetimes. Send that up to Creator's light and replace it with unconditional love and light. And her higher self said yes. It went straight from her feet out through her head, and it went all the way up. And the white light came in through the crown chakra and filled her whole body with love and light. And then I said, so what needs to happen to this client, Mrs. Smith, in order for her to be able to release the victim mentality that she has, in which she blames her mother for her dog's death because of her mother's choices, which then Mrs. Smith has used as an excuse to mentally kind of check out from completely, fully participating in this lifetime. Her higher self said, going back to her heart, and that is where she's going to find every answer for every turmoil she experiences on earth if she goes to her heart. And if you missed that conversation again, watch the replay on my YouTube channel after this is over. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about. She knows that she is not a victim. In the heart, it's very soft and also very strong. And where there is so much strength, there is no room for the victim to reside and express themselves. The victim is the part of her that clicked into her mind, and she has used it in the past as a form of a sort of survival, and she doesn't need that anymore. She can stay centered in her heart and know that with the softness and the strength that resides in the heart, she can also keep herself safe. Wow, huh? So going into the heart, living from that heart space again. That's what she was told. Let me see. Maggie said, from a Nashville native, you have an official welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, Robin. I worked with Tracy and highly recommend working with her. She's great. Thank you, Robin. Thank you. Is past life regression similar to going into the Akashic records? Yeah, that's where you get the information from the Akashic records. Akashic records and past life stuff, like that's a whole other story. I don't want to get off on too much of a bunny trail of the Akashic records because there's a lot actually involved with that. But yeah, I mean, all the stories of all the lives are kept in a library, so to speak, in the Akashic library. Yes. So somebody asked me, is Archangel Sandalphon the angel to find things? Yes, I call an Archangel Sandalphon. Okay. All right. So then I said, ooh, guys, this is a good one. Listen to this question. She feels guilt about her and her mother not doing anything about that boyfriend who killed their dogs because he then went on to hurt others. Where is she holding the guilt in her body, and why is she still holding on to it? And is she ready to let it go, or does she want to hold on to it for a little bit longer? Her higher self said, yes, that guilt is another way of her self-loathing that she has had in this and other lives that she has carried through to where it's the self-hatred that she carries with her. That's another way she gets to whip herself that she has used, and she does not have to do that anymore. She can find herself back in her heart and getting centered there. That has never served her. And now the realization of knowing that, now that she has that realization, she can shed that. So holding on to that guilt is another way of her hating herself and whipping herself. Like punishing herself. Wow, right? And I said, where is the guilt in her body? Her higher self said, it's in her chest and in her solar plexus and stomach area. I said, can you pull all that out and send it up to Creator's light? And her higher self said, yes. There's these little tiny birds carrying it away like a blanket, carrying it and bringing it up. And white light is coming back to replace where it was. Yeah. Have I gotten anything on people who've had an autoimmune disease? Yes. And it's pretty, though, when that happens, it's pretty individual to the person. So you'd actually want to ask your higher self about that and what kind of healing is needed and why you created it and what your body needs to turn that around. So yes. Okay. So I said then she feels like the guilt that she holds is causing her health issues, which then holds her back from enjoying her life and being in full joy and bliss. Is that the case? What can you tell her? Her higher self said, yes, it's part of her self-hatred she has had. And then she has been kind of abusing herself that she's not worthy. It all links back to not feeling worthy, right? So how can we speak to our higher self? I answered that question earlier. You just start talking and speak to your higher self. But if you want to learn how to really hear from your higher self, I answered it earlier. You guys can go back and listen to this from the beginning on my YouTube channel under the live tab. And I also have a course on my website, wokelightworker.com, on how to connect to and live as your higher self. So you can check out that course too. But just start talking to your higher self. Your higher self is you. So it's you, it's the higher self, and then you've got the lower self. So then I said, you said self-hatred she's had over many lifetimes. Where and why did it originally begin? And her higher self said, it did not begin in the lifetime that we looked at earlier in the session, the past life I told you guys about. It was before that. But it was the same idea where her parents told her that she was mentally ill, that she was not worthy. They gave her that idea. And so she has carried that with her. And she's aware of it in this life and has been wanting to shed unworthiness. And it goes back to this logical problem solving in her head. She pictures herself being able to go buy some self-worth. And she can't do that. And so she can't solve it mentally. Now, with the realization that she needs to go and live from her heart, maybe we can solve that piece of the puzzle in this lifetime, as well as the self-worth once and for all, and get rid of the self-hatred. So again, we can solve the self-worth issues by living in the heart, being in the heart space, what we talked about earlier. Again, if you missed it, go back and watch the replay on my YouTube channel, because that was a huge part of this, a huge part of the healing. So then I said, can we go back to all of those lives where she was told she had a mental illness or that she wasn't worthy? Can you gather up all of those other people's energies surrounding that, their words, their thoughts, gather it all up, send all of the pain, shock, trauma, and drama about her having a mental illness up to Creator's light, and then rain down on her in all of those instances, Creator's unconditional love and light, and tell us what that looks like as you do it. And her higher self said, yes, that feels so good. It feels like a new beginning. It feels like waking up from a bad dream and you just realize it was just a thought the whole time. It never needed to be there, but it was. And now it's gone. So there was that pattern of being told in more than one life that she had a mental illness or a mental disability, and she accepted it. She let other people create upon her, and then she never let it go. It just created this snowball effect, life after life, of her feeling unworthy. And so that's something you'd want to ask your higher self is, where did this feeling of unworthiness stem from? Because we're God. We're all a fractal of God. How could we possibly feel unworthy? That's an untruth. That's why it feels so awful. Because when it feels so awful, it's not true with a capital T. Where did it stem from? And what do I need to do to get rid of it? How do I get rid of these feelings of unworthiness? I'm going to pause my screen for 1 second and look and see. Okay, sorry, TikTok. I had to pause my screen for a second, guys, on TikTok. Sorry. I wanted to put my battery save on. I did already answer, how can you connect to your higher self? So, yeah, just go back and watch this. Go back and watch it from the beginning, guys. Sorry, my connection's getting wonky on TikTok. Sorry, guys. Okay. Let me see. Yes, I typically work with core wounds like worthiness in my sessions. Like every single session, we work on worthiness, 100%. We work on worthiness, self-love, self-trust, trust in the Creator, connection with the Creator, because the belief in separation from Creator or anyone else is a huge illusion that causes a lot of suffering and pain. And it's not true. So it's learning that it's not true. Okay. So then I said, can you go back to all of the instances? And this is more healing, guys. You're seeing all the healing that she's getting in this session, right? Can you go back to all of the instances where she was emotionally, mentally, physically, and verbally abused by the men in her life that her mother brought into their lives? Turn all of those instances of abuse into shards of metal that you can then take a gigantic magnet and put that above all of her bodies, meaning mental, emotional, and physical bodies. Pull out all of those shards of metal, in other words, all of those instances of abuse and trauma that she experienced from those men. Pull all of that out, send all of that shard-filled magnet up to Creator's light, and transmute all of that into love and light, and rain that down, that love and light on her, into all the spaces where the shards were removed, and replace it with unconditional love and light and the energy of peace. Her higher self said, yes, it looks like there's thousands of shards, and it's going very smooth. They are going up to the magnet, and there's one shard that she's holding on to, and the magnet is sucking up the metal, and she's being lifted off the ground and holding on to that hard. And I don't know why she's holding it. I said, what is that shard? And her higher self said, it's herself. She fell back to the earth, and now she has that one shard left in her hand. And all the lifetimes, all the abuse, the men, the energy, it's like this one shard that reflects something about herself that she's holding in her hand. I'm going to ask for another special magnet to take it. Is that okay? And I said, yeah, of course. And maybe also let us know why she feels she needs to hold on to it. And her higher self said, it was part of her identity. And when this other special magnet came to take it, she could feel the pulsating in her heart, and the magnet took it. But she knows where it is if she wants to go get it again. I said, so what could you give her now in place of that shard that she can newly identify with instead of that shard, so she doesn't go get it again? And her higher self said, love and light, filling her heart with self-worth that is abundant all around her. I said, so okay, how about if you go ahead and download Creator's definition of self-worth into her? Take out her old definition of self-worth and just download Creator's definition of self-worth. Her higher self said, yes, she is bringing in lots of white light through her crown chakra, radiating in her body from her head to her toes, and it feels peaceful. So she needed Creator's definition of worthiness. And then I said, could you also teach her what it feels like to be worthy? And her higher self said, she knows on a spiritual level, but on a physical plane, she needs to learn what it feels like. But I can teach her. She can practice things like giving her body lots of slow breaths, so she gets lots of oxygen, and standing up straight when she walks. And knowing when she's moving around on earth, that she's connected up through the heavens and rooted down into Mother Earth, and knowing that is going to help her have self-worth on the physical plane, because she's quick to connect spiritually, but it's in the physical where she gets wobbly. If she uses her breath and consciously connects to the heavens and to Mother Earth, it will help her connect physically, which is going to help bring her self-worth on the physical plane. So there you go, guys. There's another key you can use for yourself. Imagine a light connecting you, or what do you say? I imagine like a fishing line. It's like invisible, but it's definitely connecting you to the Creator. And then you've got another line connecting you to the center of Mother Earth. And then breathing into your heart space and just feeling that connection above, feeling that connection below. You are absolutely positively here for a reason. If Mother Earth didn't want you here, by the way, you wouldn't be here. Mother Earth actually gets to decide who gets to be here. I've learned that through my sessions. So if you weren't supposed to be here, you wouldn't be here. Mother Earth actually invited you to be here. That's an honor. So feeling that connection up to Creator, feeling that connection to Mother Earth, and just taking a few breaths in your heart. Anytime you feel unworthy or disconnected, That's what you can do. So there's another tool that you can use. Isn't that beautiful? Right? Yeah, Jessica said, this is so beautiful, right? Maggie, I resonate with your work so much. Yay. Awesome. So then, now it's getting really long, guys. So I'm going to have to start wrapping it up quick, but I want to tell you about just quickly a couple of other things. She was holding some trapped rejection. So I asked her higher self about that. And the rejection feelings that she holds was because, okay, sorry, my TikTok froze again because it keeps telling me my battery is dying. The rejection that she holds is because she rejects herself. So if you are holding on to rejection, everything out there that you think you're feeling or getting is because you feel it in here. Because you are rejecting yourself. Where is that rejection coming from? Why are you rejecting yourself? Right? Why are you rejecting yourself? So finding out why you reject. So her higher self said she rejects herself and she feels rejected by the world, but it really stems from her rejecting herself, right? It's a loop of her rejecting herself, then feeling rejected by the world, and then rejecting herself, and then feeling rejected by the world. It's just like this constant mad loop that goes around. It's all in us and with us, and it starts within us. So it's like I told you, in theta healing, you can figure this kind of stuff out, but you could start by asking yourself, why am I rejecting myself? Where did this come from? Why am I rejecting myself? And really doing some introspection on that. Talk out loud to your higher self. Ask your higher self, where is this coming from? Is this coming from another life? Is this something I picked up here? Like, why would I sit here and constantly reject myself and then feel rejected? And then I reject myself and then I feel rejected. And it's just this maddening loop. I've so been there much of my life. So it's a crazy loop. Her higher self said it links back to the victim mentality before. She no longer needs, and it's all connected, and we remove that. So that's going to help remove this one, which is the rejection. And then, yeah, it's hard to get out of. I totally agree. Mystic Treasure said that. Yes, it's hard to get out of. But that's why I'm telling you guys, like, if you have the opportunity to take theta healing classes, I'm telling you, like, you can learn how to figure all this stuff out and how to literally pick yourself apart, like every single thing going on in you, and pick it apart and heal it. So you don't have to carry it and like her in this session and loop around with the same lessons multiple lifetimes to get something. You can literally nip it in the butt here and learn it, and you learn the lessons that you're supposed to learn from it too. It's amazing. So to find, again, for anybody who just jumped on, you can go to my TikTok bio or my Instagram bio, and there's a link that is for theta healing or for my courses. And on my website, wokelightworker.com, you can look at theta healing. Classes start the end of January again. It's 10 days total. It's over 4 weekends. I try to make it really worker friendly. So if you have a Monday through Friday job, and you got lots of time, you can ask for a couple of days off if you need to. Okay. I'm going to scroll down because this is getting really long, and see if there's anything else I want to pull up from this. There's a lot more healing that she got. Oh my gosh, like tons more. Oh gosh. Yeah. She holds resentment toward men and not feeling safe around men because of an incident where there was violence against her. And that's all I'm going to say to continue to protect her identity. For anyone who may know her, which the chance is very slim, I understand that, but I promised I would protect her identity. So there was some violence perpetrated on her by some strange men. And so now, to have a sense of safety, she wouldn't allow me to download Creator's definition of safety into her. She didn't want that. Her higher self said she doesn't want it. She's not ready because that keeps her alert. Like her definition of safety keeps her alert. So she's always on the lookout, always aware of her surroundings, and always alert. And so I said, I kind of did some other healing with her. And I didn't know about this event. She never told me about it in our intake portion. So now that I learned about it, I asked for her higher self to remove the shock and trauma and the pain and the drama around that whole event, to pull that out of her body. And her higher self did that, gave her the healing and said, wow, that was such a big celebration. And then she started crying because there was so much relief from getting those feelings and that terror out of her body from having been attacked. And said, it feels like a big relief. Thank you. And so that was a big one. And then after that, then she allowed me to have her higher self give her creator's definition of safety and download that into her. And so her higher self said, it feels like a thunderbolt of love and light, replacing what was there before. It feels very powerful, strong, and loving. And the other is just gone. Whatever it was is just gone. And then I said to give herself a sense of safety when she's out and about, even like walking her dog or whatever. What can she use instead of reverting back to fear to give her a sense of safety? What can she call on? Can she call on the angels, or what should she do? What would you recommend? Her higher self said, yes, that's exactly it. Call on angels, because she talks to her angels all the time, but she has not called on her angels in the past who specialize in safety. She has angels of safety that watch over her, and she can call on more troops and call on as many as she wants, and they will come and help her, and they will be there to guide her. And trust her intuition if she should or should not walk somewhere, and listen to her intuition instead of her fear. Angels for everything, guys. I always put ginormous angels around me when I walk my dog, because I walk him a lot at night. And yeah, he's a big guy. I don't know if you can see him behind me, my husky, but I call gigantic angels to be around me when I walk my dog at night. She had some trapped resentment. We dealt with that. Let me see. We dealt with boundaries, unforgiveness. And I asked if she was holding any unforgiveness, and the answer was yes, of course. She's holding unforgiveness towards herself. So her higher self told her in this session, anytime you feel judgment towards anyone else, you need to check yourself, because it means you're holding you're doing the same thing, and you're holding that judgment of yourself. When you're judging someone else of something, you're judging yourself for it. So that's when you know it's like an alarm bell that you need to check in with yourself and find out, what are you judging yourself for? Right? Because we don't want to have judgment of ourselves or anyone else. We're not going to be perfect. Thank you, Kiwis, for the finger heart. Thank you. On TikTok. Let me see what else. And then her higher self said that she's angry with the world, that she feels like she went to school and the textbooks were filled with lies, and everything she's ever been taught is a lie, because she woke up. And she's really angry about that. She's very, very angry about that. And so her higher self said she needs to have acceptance for the world as it is. She has no control over all of those things or the past. So I said, would it benefit her to have you download Creator's definition and perspective of acceptance of what is? And her higher self said, yes, it feels very light and happy and free. And she can take that into her heart, because with acceptance, the judgment just naturally is not there. So when we can learn how to accept everything as it is, and people, places, and things exactly as it is, then we don't have to judge it, because we accept it. And it's going to be there whether or not you accept it. So when you don't accept something, you're just making yourself miserable. It's going to be there anyway. So you might as well just accept it, because you can't change every single thing on this planet. And just know that everything works out exactly like it's supposed to for the lessons and the experiences and the journeys that we're all meant to have. It's not all going to be perfect all the time. And so having acceptance of everything exactly as it is, that's a big one for a lot of us to get. How do I accept that person, how they are? You can accept them. It doesn't mean you need to keep them in your life, but you can accept that's where they are. That's where they're at. Hey, I don't choose to be around that energy. So I wish you all the best. Catch you on the other side. It's fine. Even if they're family, catch them on the other side. Don't need to have them in your life. No need to be so attached to people. So then I said, would it benefit her to have you download this program into her? I know what it feels like. I know that it's possible, and I know how to accept everything as it is, exactly as it is, without the need for it to be anything different. And her higher self said, yes, she has a little resistance to it, but she wants to. She mentally has used denial as a coping mechanism. So it's a pattern in the brain. She copes with life. The statement, though, feels liberating, and she wants to do that. She wants to have that become a new pattern for her. So then I said, well, how about this? Can you create new neural pathways in her brain so that it can become a new belief pattern for her, and close the pathway on the old belief that she can't accept these things? And her higher self said, yeah, I can do that. It's complete. So isn't that cool? Can create new neural pathways for new beliefs and collapse or close the neural pathways for the old beliefs. So this is all psychic surgery. So all this stuff that I've been sharing with you, pulling of trapped emotions and all of this healing and creating new neural pathways, any kind of physical healing, anything like that, psychic surgery. And then after the session, I always send my client an email telling them how to take care of themselves after the session, immediately when they're done, because even though it's energetic work that was done, it's still a type of surgery. And higher self has been very clear to me with that it's no different than getting outpatient surgery at a hospital. Just because you don't have an actual cut on your skin, you've still had a surgery, and you need to treat it as such. And you need to rest and relax and take some Epsom salt baths or a shower and get lots of water and lots of extra rest. Again, treating yourself just like you got out of an outpatient surgery center, and really taking care of yourself. So let me see. I wonder how much battery I have left. Oh, you guys on TikTok. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to freeze my screen to check how much I've got left on my battery. Hold on. Oh, I've only got 2%. Hold on. Let me see if I can. I'm going to see if I can get my charger, or we're really going to die here on TikTok, guys. Hold on. Let me get my charger. See if I can plug this in. Sorry, guys. Thank God that these lives are kind of informal. I know I'm using it as more like a formal teaching opportunity, but give me 1 second, because now I'm going to have to plug it in behind my computer. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Hold on. I'm going to see my body all over in front of the screen here while I try to plug in my phone so that I don't lose everyone on TikTok. Okay, I'm going to freeze my screen 1 more second on TikTok, guys. Hold on. There we go. Okay, sorry, TikTok. Now I've got this cord in front of my screen on Instagram. Sorry. But if I lose you guys on TikTok, I apologize. Again, you guys can catch the rest because I'll finish up on YouTube and Instagram. You can jump on Instagram on Woke Lightworker, and go to YouTube on Woke Lightworker and see anything you missed under the live tab. It'll go active as soon as this is done. Okay, I want to share this one with you guys, because I know I need to quit because it's been so long, but this was a really, really good one. I said, what is the solution for her to continue waking up to truth with a capital T and not being resentful or angry or vengeful about what she learns. Because again, she's waking up to the truth of a lot of things going on in this world. And if you haven't woken up to it, and you don't believe any of this, it's fine. You don't have to. But realizing that the history we've been taught is a bunch of garbage. It's not the actual truth. And just a lot of things in the world. And she's angry that there's animal abuse, and she's angry about racism, and she's angry about a lot of things going on in the world. And I said, so what does she need to do as she continues to wake up to truth with a capital T? And her higher self, this is important, I highlighted this. Her higher self said for her to realize that it's not just the fault of the white man. She has put that on the burden of all that on the white heterosexual male, and that has become her symbol of everything that is wrong in America and possibly the world. To realize we cannot just blame one symbol, that there's other workings out there that I'm not being given all the information on how it works so I can tell her about it. But for her to try to solve it or make sense of it is energy that she could spend elsewhere for more positive things for herself, because she won't be able to figure it out. She can do the little things that she does where she can make a difference with donations and so forth to bring her a lot of joy, to focus her energy there, rather than this symbol that she has been thinking about that is more of a negative energy. Whenever those thoughts come in her head, focus on where she can spin that into love and nurturing and what she can do to help. Even the smallest little things she does are way more constructive for her to focus her energy on. Wow, right? Hi, Tanya on YouTube. How are you? So, and that's with anything. This just happens to be this. Picking one thing to be the symbol of, okay, I'm going to hate this because it represents this. I'm going to hate men. I'm going to hate women. I'm going to, hate the government. I'm going to whatever. And picking a villain is not the way to focus your energy. You're not going to solve anything by doing that. And you don't solve anything through hate ever. And that's not like going back to the very beginning of what I was talking about when her higher self was talking about living from the heart space. You don't solve anything from the illusion of hate. There is only love, by the way. But living in the illusion of hate, you don't solve anything from there. You're just trying to deny love, and that love is the only thing that exists. So I said, the white man symbol seems to be a collective scapegoat, I guess, that those who are really pulling the strings behind the scenes on this planet have kind of planted in our minds to take the focus off of them, isn't it? Her higher self said, oh, like the white man is the scapegoat. Well, there's something behind it. And I said, yeah, isn't that right? And her higher self said, it hasn't been divulged to me. It feels like there is something else, but I don't know concretely what it is. It might be that it has been divulged to me, but I don't want to say to put that on her. It is a possibility, but I'm not 100% sure. It's like some sort of protection. I feel like I need to protect her in a way mentally, because at this time, she has what she has to work with. And if more information is given to her, then she will try to sort it out mentally. And for her growth right now, it's for her to focus on her heart and move forward with that. My sense is she will get more information as she gains more strength. She will gain more strength after this practice of becoming more heart-centered. She will gain more strength. She may end this life without getting more information. It hasn't been decided yet. So, in other words, like I said earlier, we have the oversoul again going, yep, we're not going to divulge that information to her yet, because that's not where we want her focus to be. We want her focus to be on the heart space, living from the heart space, and we don't want her focus to be on all these rabbit holes, these bunny trails that she could go down, trying to figure out who's behind the scenes, planting the idea of the white man to be the villain and the focus of everyone's hatred, so that people don't really see what's going on behind the scene and who's really pulling the strings on all of this and making all of this stuff happen over centuries and centuries and centuries. But her higher self said she's not ready for that yet. So her and I talked afterwards, and I said, yeah, when you're ready, let me know. I'll give you some books. I can recommend some books that you can learn more about it. But right now, your higher self wants you to be focused on your heart, because that's just going to be a distraction, and it's not going to help you in your spiritual journey. It's not going to help you in your growth. So if you're not master of your heart and that heart-mind coherence, all that other stuff is just a distraction to keep you from where your focus really needs to be in order to have your best life, in order to create that heaven on earth that you can, so that your whole life can feel that way, right? Official crazy cat. I've been down the rabbit hole for 2.5 years, right? Me too. I told her, I said, it got to the point where I would be walking my dog and I'd be flipping off the moon because I won't go into it why, but yeah, because of all the stuff going on in the moon. And I'd be just like, are you kidding me? Like, this stuff is maddening. It's, and then you have to integrate that energy and learn acceptance about all of that. And I mean, just master the heart mind stuff. Leave the rest, right? It can cause you to go a little bit angry, crazy. And then we downloaded Creator's definition of self-love into her and created new neural pathways in her brain so she could have new neural pathways for Creator's definition of love. And then, let me see. I asked her higher self, I said, wait a minute. So are you learning at the same time that she's learning, like all these things, these lessons and these experiences? Are you learning also at the same time she is? And her higher self said, yes, I learned through this process too. I feel like I'm always learning different ways to look at different forms of energy that can be communicated in different ways. And then her higher self went on to give me the example of like a crystal or a diamond with all the different facets, that it might know one facet of something, but then because of the experiences we have in the physical realm, we uncover a totally new facet of the same diamond, but a different way of looking at it, or a different way of handling it, or a different way of approaching it. And it's new for our higher self. And that's why there are so many lives and so many soul fractals out here having all these experiences. And all this information, all these experiences feed up to the Creator of all that is. And Creator gets to see so many things on this diamond from an infinite number of viewpoints or facets of this diamond. And that is all part of creation, and why all these lives and the way that people make decisions, and they all make different decisions and have different experiences, and how it's all so expansive and creative and expands Creator itself, himself, herself. So, yeah, amazing. So in a nutshell, guys, and that was her session. And then I said, I have a lot more questions. Can we ask some more questions, or do we need to stop? And her higher self said, she's pretty tired right now, so we need to end. And we had 4 pages of questions left to go. So her and I plan on meeting again in 3 to 6 months. And once she integrates a lot of these lessons and starts working on them, she'll come back for another session. We'll ask the other questions we have, plus get a report card from her higher self and say, okay, she's been practicing living in her heart space and having that heart-mind coherence. How's she doing? Does she need to make any tweaks, anything different? And she can get like a report card from her higher self and make some adjustments that might help her in her journey. So yeah, this is awesome, isn't it, April? I love it. I love what I do. I love what I do. If you guys are ever interested in learning how to do what I do, I actually have a mentoring group that I lead. And we're about 3 months into it right now. It's a 6-month program. It's pretty intensive. We meet once a week on Sunday evenings, and you listen to lots of my sessions. You learn how to do this. You learn all about theta healing and incorporating that. Something else called emotional alchemy. I took a lot of techniques and I kind of mush them together and do it. Learning scripts. I teach the business side of things. I teach the personal growth side of things, how you live as your higher self, because I want you, like I do, to be channeling your higher self. So when I am dealing with a client on the other end of the video screen, I am channeling my higher self the whole time. I have no idea what's coming out of my mouth. I just like open my mouth and these words come out, and it's my higher self channeling through me. So I lead you through the steps on how to get there and do that yourself so that you can start a business and you can do this kind of work too, and learn how to channel your higher self in doing this kind of work. So I do it a lot more intensively than any other program out there that I know, like way more intensively, because again, we cover the business side of things, everything about the business, and the personal growth side. You will be channeling your higher self when you're done. And the actual, like, how do you do these sessions and formulate the questions, and lots of practice sessions and working on it together. And we dig in and do a lot of work. So if you're interested in that, there's information on my website about that, wokelightworker.com, under my mentorship program, under my courses tab. And again, if you want to do theta healing to learn how to do the most incredible way of getting self-healing, or even starting a business as a theta healer, you can take my courses under Woke Light Worker. They start the end of January 2024, and they're over 4 weekends. And then I also have my higher self course, learning how to connect and be your higher self, also on my website, wokelightworker.com. But don't forget about my free meditation, how to connect to your higher self. And if you just go to my website, wokelightworker.com, there's a pop-up screen that comes up and it asks if you want my free meditation, connecting to your higher self. Go ahead and click yes, and that will add you to my email list. So again, I'm writing a book right now, guys. I have 2 books I'm writing. One with a co-author, an amazing woman who it's all about emotions. And you guys have never, ever heard about emotions like you will in our book. Like, this is stuff you've never, ever heard before. It's incredible and amazing. And you've never heard it. It blows us away. So I put her under hypnosis, and she channels all these different emotions, and we find out information that is mind-blowing. And then my other book that's going to be out first is Who Says Childbirth Has to Be Painful? And it's all about how to have a pain-free labor and delivery. So if you know anyone that might be having a baby, you might be having a baby, anyone who's pregnant, that should be out. I'm going to self-publish that on Amazon. It should be out within a couple of months or less. Before the end of this year, for sure, it'll be out. It'd be a cute little Christmas gift if you know anyone who's pregnant. But yeah, I did it. I know it's possible. I know how to do it. And it's amazing and it's incredible. And I'm writing about the experience, plus adding a lot of healing you can give yourself and your baby in the womb before your baby's even born. So it's a lot of stuff like that in this book. So if you want to be on my mailing list, go to my website, sign up for the free meditation. You'll be on my mailing list so I can let you know when my book comes out. And then there's going to be a meditation to go along with the pain-free labor and delivery, so that the woman who wants the pain-free labor and delivery can listen to the meditation that I'm going to make to train her brain on a daily basis to have that pain-free labor and delivery. So I'm super excited about that, guys. My next session for mentoring, when does it start? It's probably going to start in February. So sometime in February, maybe the end of February, I have to look and see, but it'll probably start in February. If I need to wait until March for some people to kind of get on board with it, we can wait till March, but just reach out and contact me. We can have a separate phone call if you're interested in learning about the mentoring program. I'll get on like a 45-minute phone call with you to answer all your questions and tell you what it's about, but there's a lot of information about it on my website. You can get a lot of information about it. Another great live. Thank you for your time and knowledge. You're so welcome. Yeah, check out my website, wokelightworker.com, to learn about my mentoring program. And again, Theta Healing. Theta Healing is a prerequisite. Prerequisite. So guys, if you're even remotely interested in doing my mentoring program, you have to take my Theta Healing classes first. Like, you can't learn my method without learning Theta Healing, and that's separate from my mentoring. You have to do that. And again, those classes start the end of January. So look at the Theta Healing classes first. You can get an idea for my teaching style, which you saw here tonight because I've been teaching all night. You can get an idea for my teaching style and learn a powerful method that you can actually implement right away and start making money with clients doing Theta Healing, but then also learning how to really incorporate it into the hypnosis to make it way more powerful than any other modality or method that's out there right now dealing with higher self hypnosis, is incorporating Theta Healing into it. So you did basic and advanced DNA. Awesome. As long as it wasn't too long ago, you can jump into dig deeper and UN Creator. But if it's been a while, you're going to want a refresher, because I move really fast in my classes. And if you didn't learn the basics and remember and retain the basics from the first 2 Theta Healing classes, you're going to want a refresher. And you could always reach out to me and we could work out some sort of scholarship to make it a lot less expensive for you to do the first 2 again if you need a refresher, if it's been a while. So just let me know. Reach out to me. My email, guys, is tracy@wokelightworker.com if you need to reach me, or you can reach me on my website. Let me see. Love the red. Oh, Izzy. So if you guys want to see this again from the beginning, check out the replay under my live tab on my YouTube channel. We covered some amazing stuff tonight that you can use in your life for massive healing and spiritual growth, like will change your life. So if you missed it, go check out the replay on my YouTube channel under the name Woke Light Worker. But thank you all so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I love that heart. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And again, check out the replay on my YouTube channel if you missed it, because if you missed it, you missed it. And I'll email everyone on my email list to let you know when my next live is, because I'm not very consistent with these. I'm sorry. I'm really busy doing sessions and writing my books. So I know I'm not very consistent, but if you're interested in a session, schedule a free 15-minute consultation call with me, and I can see if it would be a good fit for you. Just feel free to go to my website, Woke Light Worker, or click on the link in my bio in TikTok or Instagram to schedule that free 15-minute call with me to learn, and I can answer your questions about it. I offer 2 sessions now, guys. I offer a shorter one. It's a 3-hour session. And I made it way, way more affordable than my sessions used to be, because I saw a need for that. And then I have my traditional session, which is approximately 6 hours long. So that's my longer traditional one. But my shorter 3-hour one, you can still get a lot of work done, see a past life, channel your higher self, and get lots and lots and lots of questions answered in 3 hours. So let me know if you want something like that. I can explain the difference, and you can check it all out at wokelightworker.com. Okay. I love you guys. Thanks for listening to me. I hope I helped you in your spiritual journey a little bit, and you can find me on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube on all my little 3-minute teaching videos. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.